Good morning and welcome. I'm Bob Pace. I'm here to fight with CPS and hang on or get back your children. I'm your host. This is a live podcast around the world. You found me on Facebook, Fight CPS. I'm transmitting on YouTube using the StreamYard application. I'm on 7 days a week, twice a day, at 10 o'clock Pacific Standard Time and 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. They're an hour each of my two shows every day. And so uh, there's one day on Sunday that I come on 2 hours earlier. I'm just so I can be with my family for church. So on Sunday, I'm on at 8 o'clock. Every other day, it's 10 o'clock. Then this is football season, and Friday is Friday Night Lights. And my son has a football game, so I'll be with my son at the football game this Friday. So I'll come on the show at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. 3 o'clock on Friday. 3 o'clock. There's only two exceptions. So Friday at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for an hour, and Sunday at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time for an hour. Now, this is an interactive podcast, which means that you can participate in this podcast. And one of the first ways you can do so is by just being in the podcast right now. There are people in my room. I welcome you all. And you can take notes and listen. And hopefully I cover things that help you. I'm not an attorney. I'm a family man. I'm a father of 6, 3 older children, 3 younger, and I've been married 31 years. And I'm here to help you because I too was caught up in the badness of CPS, the corruptness. They're not transparent. They retaliate. They're mean. They're ugly. I don't know how else to describe you. They are just sole purpose is to make money. Their sole purpose is to make money. And in do so, they have to traffic your children into foster care, and they have to alienate you children from the family. Their purpose is to right away, even though the kids may not be in imminent danger, is to put your kids into foster care and start the case against you. So it is a horrible thing that you're involved in. And I welcome all of you for coming in. Now, also at this time, if you want to subscribe to my podcast, please, down below, click the subscribe button. Also, you want to be notified of my podcast, please hit the notification buttons so that you don't miss any of my podcasts. I try to make each podcast different and informative, and there's a lot of things I can talk about in a short period of time. I talk about my case, what I went through, what can help you. I talk about my 5 rules, and I also talk about topics I have, about 75 of them open right now. And I can talk anything about the Indian Child Welfare Act of 1978 to ICPC to the 388 motion, etc., etc. I'm a wealth of information, and I can help you. So please listen carefully. And if you're at the point where you like to make a comment or notes, you can do so. Also, don't forget to click stars, and the stars really help out the show. So there's stars too that you can do there. Now, to write a comment, it's very easy. You go to the comment section of YouTube, and you type your comment about your question or what you want to talk about in your child protection system. Now, what I call child protection, if you haven't figured it out by now, I call anything that deals with the protection or neglect of your children, the abuse. They're supposed to protect your children from neglect and abuse. That's the whole purpose. It's the branch of social services. That's what I call the child protection system. Every state will have different acronyms. California's the Child Protection Services. In Arizona, it's the Department of Children's Services. In Georgia, the fancy name, but it's the cabinet. And so when I talk about the child protection system, I talk about every agency in the counties in every state across the country that deals with the protection of your children from neglect or abuse. And also, besides protection, they're supposed to help out with family in the areas of food, clothing, housing, medical, educational, and a job. It's so important. That's what they also do. Then, if they have to necessarily to break the family apart because there's some hiccup in your family, something bad has happened, they're supposed to do temporary placement of your children first with family friends before they put them in foster care system. They're supposed to put a relative or some of your family friends first. And then they're supposed to do what's called family reunification. They're supposed to bring back your families. It's so important that they bring back your families. That is called family reunification. I had a little trouble with my tie here because it doesn't look great. And when you shift it to one way, it's opposite what the picture does. So um, hopefully it looks better. Um, okay, I think that's better. Now to get your comments in, it's just texting it, just typing it in. And they can be questions about CPS, but we want to keep it focused on CPS. That's the theme of this podcast. That's the theme of where everything's going there. So please show me your name. You probably say, wait a minute, I already have a name. Yes, you may have a name. It may be a name of jumping hippopotamus or psychedelic butterflies or hanging monkeys or gone with the wind. Um, those are great names, but they're not really your first name. I like to address you by names like Kathy, Tim, Tom, Bob, Mary, Debbie, common names like that. So if you don't have one of those in your YouTube or Facebook, please type the first name, not the last name, but the first name, and that's fine. Then follow that with your city or county. It's very important that we put the city or county. I'm trying to get an idea of where the concentration of bad CPS is or good CPS is. Also, please put in your state. So it's a city or county and state. And then on top of that, I have also countries from around the world, 13 of them that have come in. And they are Bangladesh, New Delhi, India. I've had a country up in the Middle East that I can't decipher the Arabic. Sad to say, I don't speak Arabic. Anyway, um, with that being said, uh, um, somebody in the Middle East has texted in a comment. I've had Africa, I've had Liberia in the north, uh, on the west coast, then down south on the west coast of South Africa. I had the province there. Then I've had Rwanda, which is a small country, really small, in Central East Africa near Lake Victoria that had terrible, terrible civil war where millions of people were slaughtered and killed. And then on top of that, 500,000 women were raped, females were raped, and they tried to extractate them with AIDS. It was very terrible what they were doing. And then on top of that, the country has gotten back together. But they also have had Mozambique, which is south of Somalia, north of South Africa, on the east coast, opposite Madagascar. Then I go to Europe, to England, Scotland, Wales, and then Denmark and Sweden. Then across the pond to North America, where I've gotten Canada, and I've had several provinces in Canada, Vancouver, British Columbia, etc. I've also had the First Nation Canadian Indians contact me from Canada. So it was interesting there. In the United States, we have the Native American Indians, the first immigrants. And I've talked to all 50 states, including Washington, D.C. I've talked to small places like the Lakota Sioux Indian tribe in Rosebud Reservation, or the Cherokee Indian tribe in Oklahoma, or the Osage. I've talked to a lot of different people, including social workers, 3 of them. Then south of the border, I'm talking to Mexico. In fact, the father called in from Mexico City looking for his daughter in Louisiana. And then down South America, I've had Guyana, which is a small country on the east coast of South America, north of Brazil, east of Venezuela. Um, and they had texted a comment there. Then across the Pacific, I've had Australia, several comments there from the Gold Coast and from the other um, states in Australia. I think in the Melbourne area of uh, of Australia. So this makes it an international flavor. I'm open to anybody with a CPS question or a comment that you want to make. All I ask is that you all try to respect one another and and try to listen and help one another. Now, it's very important you complete with your case. That means I'd like you to tell me about your case before you express your comments. This is good whether you call in or you're texting in. What I'm talking about is your makeup of your family. Are you a husband, wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, lovers, partnership? Are you a single parent raising the children? Are both parents involved in the children? Are both parents the biological parents of the children? What are the ages of the children? What are the sexes of the children? What are the allegations? And then how were the children taken from you? How were the children taken from you? And then where are you at on your case? So if you can be complete with your case, that'd be beautiful. That'd be beautiful. Now, I want to say hello to we have Aaron Paceno has come in, and I know you want your family back. I have no idea where you're from, Aaron, but maybe you tell me. My parents had her almost a year. I need to know the detail, Aaron. The agency keeps pretty slow here. I know. The agency is, I don't know where here is, but I realize that. My parents went after us because my brother was dying. Um, you're in a place called Storlance County. Oh, you're in a country county. You're in Stallings County. What state is Stallings in? New York. Okay. You're in the county in New York. Well, glad to have you, Aaron. I know it's really hard. Are you one of the child of the family? Because you say your brother, so are you the daughter, Aaron? You said your brother was dying and your parents were after us. What are the details? How can I help you, Aaron? Thank you so much for coming in. Now, a third way to interact with this podcast is to be a guest. And I had a beautiful guest yesterday. Her name was Elizabeth. She was on the show. She has a case in Orange County, California, and she's actually hired Vincent W. Davis to defend her cases this morning. And it's a ridiculous case that she has. But she was so nice to share it with us. So to schedule as a guest, all you do is email our producer. Her name is Grace, and she can be reached at grace at vincentwdavis.com. Grace at vincentwdavis.com. And she's a hard worker, and I want to thank her for helping me keep my room in line and helping me out. Now, all you have to do is put one of my 7 days, twice a day show, morning, evening. So you just say, I want to be Bob's Sunday morning show or Bob's Friday evening show. And you send the email to grace at vincentwdavis.com. That's grace at vincentwdavis.com. And she'll put you on the show. She'll give you a link to StreamYard, which is the application we use to broadcast the show. Don't lose it, because if you fall off, you can reuse it again. It's a good link. And she'll tell you what to do on the podcast. For instance, we don't allow eating or smoking on the podcast. And we don't uh, show the names of children, social workers, or judges. But she'll tell you the details. Make sure you got a strong internet connection. Computers are preferable, but if you have a phone, that's okay. Just make sure your face is visible and the lighting is adjusted and your microphone is on. Now, uh, the fourth way is to call in, and I have a phone number that you can call in. I just put it up now, so I can take phone calls. It's my office number, 626-698-0990. And you can call in at that number, and I'll answer it. I'll put you on speakerphone. Yeah, make sure you speak up loudly and don't have any background noise in the background, because it will echo. So call in at 626-698-0990. Now, when you call in, only call in the showtime hours, because before the show or after the show, I can't answer the call. I cannot answer the call. So that's 626-698-0990. Now, that's 4 ways. First way is just by being in the room listening and using emojis, like faces and hearts and thumbs up. Um, Also, stars are nice. Don't forget to subscribe down below, and also click the notification. You want to know when I'm going to be on or not. Then there are comments you can place, and then there is also the guests. Be on the show. I can take up to 9 people, a total of 10 people as guests. And lastly is my phone number. So we've had one person that has expressed a comment. Her name is Erin Huseno. She's from New York, and she's from a county called Straw Lawrence County. Straw Lawrence County. And I'd like to know more about your case, Aaron. It sounds like you're the one of the children of the family that has been broken apart. And I don't know if the parents are together or what's going on. You say your brother was dying, and that's sad to hear. I don't know what age you are, and I know that the child protection system is slow everywhere. Um, and I know you want your family back. I don't know if you're in foster care yourself and you found a way to communicate with me. I'm so glad that you are. Um, it's a horrible thing, this child protection agency is. They're not your friend. They're not your friend. Okay. All right. Aaron further states, see, I can put that up so everybody can read it. We're living with your, I guess, your family. And my brother's um, ASP worker, and my mom was causing issues in front of the worker. So there's a CPS worker, and her mom was caused in front of the worker. She was threatening to take our daughter away. They abused me and my hubby. That the CPS worker got a hold of the agency to my mom. She tries them. Um, I'm 45, and my hubby was trying to get in the military. Well, I don't know how old your hubby is because military, um, St. Lawrence County. Okay. You're in St. Lawrence County. I thought you're in another kind of county in New York. Okay. I'm trying my best. He was 31. Why would he want to go in the military at 31? That's an old age to get in the military. Okay, we have one listener, one commenter in the room trying to explain her case. It sounds kind of complicated. Um, Maybe you'd like to call in. I don't know why my number was removed, but there it is. So your hubby's 31 and you're 45 and wants to go in the military. How by joining the military does that help you through CPS case? And what about your brother that's dying? Um, we have a guest in the room. Her name is Erin. She's from New York, and I think she's from St. Lawrence County. And she has an unusual case at CPS is doing something in front of her mother, but if she, if she's 45, how old is your brother, and how many brothers you're talking about? How many brothers are you talking about? I know you want your family back, but I have no idea what your family consists of. You say you have a hubby. Is the father and you the father of all the children? How many children are we talking about? Are they all brothers, or is there a daughter of yours? And your mom was causing issues in front of the CPS workers, which is sometimes a bad thing. It can hurt your case because you can't trust CPS. They're a bad agency. Oh, you have a daughter. I see that. So you have a daughter and brothers. I don't know how many brothers you have. They were abusing me and my hubby. Now, who is abusing you and your hubby? Um, I'm really trying my best to understand you, Aaron. If you want to call in, my phone number is up 626 698 0990. If you have nothing further to say, I'm going to talk about um, My 5 rules that should help you all really quickly. You'll probably see another number up on the screen. That number, by the way, is my office number, 888-888-6582. It's not my direct office number, but it's the office number of the office of Vincent W. Davis Associates. It's a law firm created by Mr. Vincent W. Davis. It has many lawyers for all areas of law. If you're into real estate matters, or you're into unemployment, or you're into becoming a legal alien or whatever, he has lawyers for every type of law there is. The law that we're in is called dependency law. It's family juvenile dependency law. It deals with families and juveniles, and dependency is what the law you want. And so if you have needs of an attorney, even a dependency law attorney, please contact 888-888-6582. Tell them that Bob Pace sent you. Tell them that Bob Pace sent you. So that's what the other number is there. And also, I like to mention my first rule is to hire an attorney. I don't know how important it is, but dealing with CPS is like open heart surgery. Open heart surgery. It's so bad and so corrupt that you need a professional attorney, a dependency, family law, juvenile attorney. And we have one. His name is Vincent W. Davis, and he has 35 years experience of fighting CPS and getting your children back. He's also a trial attorney, and he also can fight them civilly with a civil lawsuit in federal court and state court that violates your constitutional civil rights. If they commit perjury on the stand, they can be sued. So he's good at that. He's won millions of dollars. He practices law in the southern area of California in Arcadia, and he has several cases in LA, San Bernardino, and Arcadia. He also has cases up in Northern California and in Oklahoma. He will do other states. He'll fight anywhere. So right now, I have a special arrangement with Mr. Davis to offer a consultation. He can, if you want to have a um, a consultation with Mr. Davis, all you need to do is book a Zoom consultation with Vince Davis for 30 minutes, and it'll cost you $60. A special fee that I've got him to okay. He can be contacted https://candidly, CLENDLY.com/apps, APPTS/VWD/Bob Pace. That's BOBPACE. If you go there, you get that special rate, that Zoom consultation. He'll help you navigate and how to get your children back. For 30 minutes, he'll talk to you. It's an excellent time to meet him and talk to him. And you can also talk about retaining him too. He'll talk about that. But it's so important to use those 30 minutes wisely, and that he's available. He's the top-notch attorney in the United States. He's a fighter. Right now, he's fighting a case in LA. So um, he's fighting that case in LA, and it is really um, a hard case. And I'm telling you that you got to listen carefully to what he tells you. He knows his law well. And anyway, I want all my listeners to understand that he's there to help you. So all you do is contact him at that website, and for 30 minutes, he'll talk to you for $60. And it's so important to get an attorney because you're dealing with a very corrupt agency. So corrupt. It seems like everybody I talk to, and over 500 some people, they are really bad. They're really, really, really bad. And so I'm telling you um, that um, it's a hard thing. It's a hard thing to fight you out there. Now, we have one guest in the room right now. Well, we have several people in the room. And we have Aaron, who's texting a comment from St. Lawrence County in New York. and she's trying to get her family back together again. She has a daughter and several brothers, and I guess her husband wants to join the military at age 31. I don't know how that's going to help out things. But Aaron, you're welcome to call in. My office number is 626-698-0990. And I'd love for you to call in and uh, and talk about your case. And I too can help you. You know, as I told you earlier, I'm a family man, a loving man, and I care about you all as people. And I want to help you go through what I went through was a nightmare. My case was really a nightmare. So you need this attorney to fight them. You're like Alice in Wonderland. You've fallen in a rabbit hole and you met the Chester cat. And that Chester cat's directed to room after room. They are so crazy, you're going to bounce around like a ping pong ball. And I really feel bad for you all. I feel bad for you all, and it's really shameful that you have to go through with all this. And so I don't know how much importance I can say to have an attorney. You're probably going to say, wait a minute, I got a court appointed attorney. Well, the court appointed attorney is not very good. They barely know law. They know criminal law, but not dependency law. And they're going to have a caseload of 30 more clients, and they're not going to be able to help you aggressively attack the social worker attorneys. They're friends of the court, friends of the judge, and they are really uh, bad news people. So um, you need this attorney to fight for you. And his consultation, he'd like very much to talk to you. And again, I thank Mr. Davis for being for what he does and so forth. So that's my rule number one. My rule number two is you need to organize your notes in the 8.5 by 11-inch notebook with 3 rings. You need a 3-inch thick binder and put on all your court papers, all your notes. And one of the most important thing is you use subject dividers and divide your information so you can find things. Put them on envelopes and post-its and scratch papers, or putting them in a day runner or on the computer or on your phone. I try all that. They're hard to read. The fonts are small. It's better to write in your own handwriting, that notebook. And you stuff it full of college ruled notebook paper. One of the important things, you need a timeline of incidents. You need to track all your incidents, whether with social workers, police, your children, family, or friends. You need to list every incident. Your first line will be your the day of the incident, the time of the incident, the location of the incident, and the people that are involved. The second line is what the incident was about. Then the third line is that you want to put um, the outcome of the incident. You may not know it, and you have to come back later to fill it. Then skip a couple lines to your next incident. Soon you're going to have hundreds of incidents, but be able to keep track of them, because this may go on years. It may not be over in a couple months or whatever it is. So it's important that you have that timeline of incidents in there. And then you also want to make sure that you take your court documents and hole punch them and separate them. You want to have a section for all your parenting classes, your certificates, and so forth. You may want to make an index of all the parenting classes you've taken. Also, you want to do programs, whether it's anger management or domestic violence or drug related, alcohol related. You want to put that in there. You want to put a list of all your test results of your drug free status. Also, your medical reports. If you have evaluation, they're going to try to find you mentally incompetent. They're going to try to find you mentally incompetent. And you have to be careful there. They're tricksters. They're not the nice person you meet down the street. They're worse than the IRS. They're worse than the Internal Revenue Service. This government agency has no control over them. They're a rogue agency. There's no accountability. There's nobody watching over them. In fact, it's gotten so bad where in one area in Richmond, Kentucky, over $1 million has gone unaccounted for, and they've got one guy charged with embezzlement funds of $400,000. And so it is very corrupt. Kentucky is one of the most corrupt states for CPS, but it happens in every state. And I'm hoping to meet some social workers that are good social workers. I have met one from Maryland. That was a nice lady named Carolyn who talked about her CPS. She's a clinical psychiatrist, and she had 6 months of additional training in Maryland. So I know that there are good CPS workers out there. It's just I'd like to hear from more of them. I've only heard from three of them. So that rule number two, keep that notebook organized. It'll save your life. I wish I had done that in my case. Now, rule number three is a really important one because that's how they enter your home and take your children. First thing is never allow anyone to enter your home. Don't answer your door. Don't answer your door. Too many people have been killed by answering the door. We've had a guy in Gainesville, Florida, a young black man of 23 who was shot 5 times in the chest point blank for opening the door. And that policeman is being charged, but the guy is dead. He was talking to Facebook with his girlfriend. He died on the phone. Why? That was needless to do there. There was a guy contributing to our country, you know, and now he's gone. There was another lady just recently in the news that the cam footage showed the sheriff being very abrasive with her, no people skills. He shot her point blank in the face 5 times. She's dead, and she's gone. Then there was a Korean lady that 2 cops shot her. She had mental problems, and it's just a shame. So make it easy. Don't answer the door. Whoever's trying to talk to you will leave a message, or if they have your phone number, they'll contact you. You can also make arrangements with the knocks or the messages at the door. You can make those arrangements there. And um, whatever you do, just be quiet. Listen. When they're gone, or after a while's gone by, then they'll leave their business card. You can follow up and call them. If you're outside and you encounter a social worker, uh, try not to talk to them too much. Just say yes, no. And an easy way to get out of the situation is tell them that you need to have your attorney present to ask any further and not to let them take your children. There are only 3 ways they can enter your home. One is if you give them permission, and you never want to give them permission. Two is there's domestic violence going on, where there's some type of shouting or argument in front of the children going on, or the children are caught up to it, the children being strangled or being thrown against the wall. You know, they will enter the home. The policemen or the social workers or both will enter the home. So that's the second way. If there's domestic violence going on, and arguing is bad. Arguing is really, really bad. And then there is the third way, which is a court order. It's a warrant. And this warrant is really important that is filled out correctly. It's a legal document. It's where the CPS worker, the police have gone to the court and asked the judge that there's extenuating circumstances at this home and they need to enter it. The judge will grant them a warrant. The warrant has to be filled out by the judge, signed by the judge, a wet signature, and they use a hand stamp that raises the signature so they can't forge the signature. Be careful because if the dates are on a holiday or a weekend, then you know it wasn't from the judge, it's copied documents because courts are not open on holidays or weekdays. Then the documents got to clearly say the names of the people they're addressing, the names of the children, what the allegations are, and the address. Further, it's got to say the date and time they can do the investigation, and whether they can talk to you or even take your children away from you. So unless they have a warrant, that third way, there's no way they can get there and your kids are fine. Don't give them up. They have to be in extreme danger. Extreme danger. The woman I was talking about that was a guest, Elizabeth, said that her daughter accused her of physical abuse, but they took her daughter to the Chalk Hospital and found no such physical abuse. But they took her children anyway and put it with her sister who had alternative motives of adoption. It's really sad that family members are just as bad within the family. It's really, really, really sad. So I tell you, it's rule number three is say no to social workers. Be polite, get their name, get their number. Check their ID to make sure because they do lie with their name. Also, check the officer's police badge. I know it's intimidating, but by law, they need a warrant to enter your home. Either they arrest you for a crime or they leave you alone. I was intimidated and I let the policeman into my home. That's what happened in my case because I didn't know about all this. So I'm telling you, doing that. Also, another thing is called medical trafficking. Medical trafficking is when you take a child to urgent care or emergency because they have a high fever and they're not doing too well. Be very careful of social workers that work at the hospital. They're not your friend. If they hear something, they may try to take your child. Again, they have to have a warrant. Don't let them take your children. Say no to them. Take your children away from them. Also, further, is if you're pregnant and going to have a child, make sure that only you allow the people you want in the birthing room. Social workers and policemen that walk in that want to take your child is no. You tell the office staff to get them out. They're not supposed to do that. They need a warrant. They need a warrant out there. So watch the medical trafficking. Now I wanted to talk about rule number 4. And rule number 4 is um, to do research. You need to spend some time, like 60 hours of research about your CP case in your hometown, your home county. All you need to do is put in the city. Now, if you live in Athens, Georgia, the city may be too small. So say Atlanta and Athens, Georgia, or say Athens and Atlanta, Georgia. Then say the word CPS. And then after CPS, put in your question about CPS. What is dependency court like? What are the steps to taking my children? Can they do this? What's the agency's, there's all these questions that you come up with. And that's the third part of your paraphrase question. So it's very important that you use Google to ask the right question. Ask the right question. So that's my rule number 4. And then my last rule number 5, is to put all your important documents in an envelope, like all the kids' birth certificates and social security, your driver's license, your marriage certificates. Copies are fine. You want to put the children's grade reports, any messages about back to school nights or teacher conferences, things like shows they perform, things like that. Also, if there's any mental issues that some work has been done or they've been checked out, because they're going to try to get you for mental. They want to make you mentally unstable so they can take your children away. Their sole purpose is to make money. It's $1 trillion business, not billion, not million, but $1 trillion that they spend. And they really are evil about that because they give bonuses and incentives to the workers. They are corrupt. In my case, they really were. Very, 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 very corrupt. And so I'm telling you, that's rule number 5. So I'm talking about 5 rules. 1, hire an attorney. They'll save your life. 2, organize your paperwork and be able to reference it easily and so forth. 3, don't let them in your home. Don't let them take your children. Don't talk to them. And watch out medical trafficking. They will try to steal your children at the hospital. And then 4 is do the research. Very important. And then 5, keep all your important documents in that folder so you have something. But those are 5 rules that will help you that I wish that I had done, which I didn't do. My case started in 2010, and unfortunately, I did not know the person who was making the complaints. What I found out later, it was my in-laws, my wife's family, her mother, her father, her sister, 3 sisters, and her brother were constantly calling in every week with some stupid remark. They were trying to take our children. They never were supportive of our marriage. 31 years ago, they didn't show up at the wedding. And on top of that, they did not, they always were trying to take our children away. And I did not even think about that. I found out later that's who was making it. That's a lay person, by the way. There's 2 kinds of individuals that make complaints. One are lay people, one are professionals like a doctor, a nurse, a caregiver, a principal, a teacher, a policeman. Those are all professional people, a daycare worker. They're required to, they're trained and how to recognize abuse and neglect. And they're supposed to call in if they see such a thing. And so um, those are professional, and 90% of the time they are correct in what the accusations are made, or maybe they were mistaken, but it can easily be disapproved. And on top of that, there are the lay people. These are your sisters, your neighbors, the person down the street, your family, your friends. They use it, and 50% of those cases are false call-ins, meaning maybe they have a neighbor they don't like because the yard overgrows their neighbor or the dog barks. They're going to make up stories that aren't true and use CPS to um, work against them. So I'm telling you, you got to be really careful um, with lay people because that's where a lot of the cases were. That's what happened with my guest last night, Elizabeth, who today is in court, and I hope it goes so well. I hope it goes so well for her. I'm so happy that Vincent Davis is defending her, and I want to see how it happens. Now, Aaron, I've not forgotten you. You've been in my room since the beginning, and I understand that you're a mother. You have a daughter and and your brothers. I don't know how all this is working in your case. You kind of died for me, but she's from St. Lawrence County in New York. Her husband at 31 wants to join the um, army or the military, and you're 45. And anyway, you have a CPS worker, and suppose your mom was causing issues in front of the worker. So I'm trying to help you. If you can tell me further, Aaron. We have about 15 minutes left of my show time, and um, I Aaron, I really know how you feel. I really want to help you. Also, it's good to see Catherine Elizabeth Walker from New York. Her name, she has another name that she goes by, but she was in my podcast a couple days ago, Catherine Elizabeth Walker, and I'd like to hear from you too. My phone number, by the way, is 626-698-0990. You're welcome to call in, and I'd love to hear from you. I love to hear from you. And so I encourage you all to be very careful. You have to understand this agency is bad. You got to not trust them. They do not like family reunification. It makes them no money. You got to think about what makes them money and why they do the things that they're doing. It's so bad. It is so, 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 so bad. Now, I have mentioned some topics, and one of them is ICWA, the Indian Child Welfare Act of 1978. That was an act to help protect the Indian children. You see, in the 1870s, Indians were being rounded up and placed on reservations because at that time the uh, the people of the United States had no idea of how to assimilate the Native American Indians into the culture. It seemed like the Indians and the settlers out west could never get together. I know there was gold discovered, and that causes stampede, and people like to take the land. It's a sad way, but the Indians were losing, and it was sad because they've always had welcome arms to all the people that came there. They were the first settlers. The First Nation of the Indians were the first immigrants. They came from Siberia through a land bridge up in Alaska and settled in Alaska and up in Canada and then down in the United States. And they've always had welcome arms. The next immigrants that come over were the Vikings, and they were explorers, and they were and they got as far west as Missouri, and they we're a very different kind of people from Norway and Sweden, and those things. They were raiders, of course, and they were out there plundering and so forth there. But they didn't really make settlements. They tried to make settlements in Greenland and Iceland, and there is some remnants of settlements in Rhode Island. But they were the second immigrants. Then came the Spaniards, then the Portuguese, the English, the Dutch. Then a lot of the Europeans started exploring. And as the American Indians migrated south in South America, the Spaniards encountered them, and then they produced the Mexicans, which was part Spaniards and part Indian. And that's where they came from. And then people from Africa were coming over to the raw expeditions through straw boats. They could sail from Africa to South America. Then the South Pacific was being settled where the Polynesians came from. And they're from people from South America. So people from Africa were spreading out. People from North America and South America were spread out, populating the world. But we all are people and we need to work together. We need to love one another and we need to be fair and honest with each other. And I'm sorry to say that CPS is not your friend. There's so many horror stories that Faye from Richmond, Kentucky can share with you. She wrote a marvelous paper on how bad and how corrupt the agency is. Um, she is really a remarkable person. So I have about 8 minutes left of my podcast, and I really like to uh, help you. If somebody had a quick question, they can call in. My number is 626-698-0990. Don't forget, you can be a guest on my podcast. All you have to do is email Grace at vincentwdavis.com with your show times, one of my 14 shows, and she'd gladly help you get on. Um, so I'm taking comments. If you guys can text in comments, I do appreciate the emojis. Thank you. The stars and the smiley faces and the thumbs up and the hearts are beautiful. And thank you. As you can see, this 388 motion I was finishing off with is supposed to protect the Indian children. What it does is for a long time, from the 1870s on, CPS would get a hold of Indian children that were abused or neglected, supposedly abused and neglected, and they would automatically put them in foster care. They wouldn't make any effort for reunification. So this act was protecting the American Indian children to be put with family. What it says is CPS must investigate if the children have Indian blood in them. And certain tribes ask for a 0.25% of Indian blood in them to be considered Indian. And what they do is that if they're registered with one of the 585 federal recognized tribes or could be registered, they will um, the children be turned over to the reservations, to the Indian tribe. They in turn place them with Indian families to help reunify. So the children are not adopted into foster care. That's the sad part, is that it seems like the MO of CPS is to put them in foster care. And so the Indian Act protected them. It took them to 1978 for them to come up 100 years later. But if any of you think you're an Indian child or something like that, look into it. It's called the ICWA, the Indian Child Welfare Act of 1978. There's also another motion that people talked about, the 388 motion. Now, that 388 motion, that 388 is in California, but the same motion is in every state. It just may have different names. What it is, it's a motion you place before the judge. You or your attorney puts it before the judge and request a hearing because you have new information or something else left out. Within 30 days, you're supposed to have a court hearing about your case within 30 days. So it's important you know about that. It's important that you know about that. Now, it's very important that you know about how to um, Now, there's another agency that you heard of. There is the ICPC, and it's called the Interstate Compact on the Placement of Children. So it's really important that when your children are taken from state because of special needs, that they are put into the ICPC, and it's called the Interstate Compact on the Placement of Children. Um, see what else I have. There are several ways to file a complaint about the Child Protection Services, and I'm going to go over a couple of them. There is the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services that manages social services and the child protection system. And what you can do is that you can print and mail a completed complaint and consent form to 200 Independence Avenue Southwest, room 5090F, Triple H building in Washington, D.C. 20201. You can also email the completed forms to the OCR complaint at hhs.gov. That is their website. The OC, which um, um, OCCR, which is the complaint part of HHS, which is the Health and Human Services.gov. Or you can call the Children's Bureau at 800 394 3366 or email for info at childwelfare.gov. The Office of the Family and Children Ombuds. You can fill out a complaint form and return it to the office. And so you can complain. You can complain about judges to the state, to the judiciary branch. You complain about attorneys too. So you need to understand the steps of how to make a complaint. You also have to be really important about the appeal procedure. And you also want to be able to contact the higher state of authority. So that's how to do complaints there. Now, let me see here. We have about a minute left before my podcast will end. It's the bewitching time. And I want to thank you again. First, I want to thank Erin Pesno. I don't know if you completed your case or not. She looked like she was a mother with daughters, and she had brothers, and her husband's going in the military, and she has trouble with her mother and CPS. I don't know all the details, but she's from St. Lawrence County in New York. And I know how awful the case is, and hopefully you'll come back in later again. I want to thank you. I want to thank everybody for all their emojis that they have expressed. And also, I'll be on again tonight at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time in the evening for 1 hour. Remember, this Friday, I come on at 3 p.m. in the afternoon because I have a commitment that evening at 7 o'clock with my son. And so I'm on Friday, this Friday only, at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, of course, Sunday at 8 o'clock. So again, I want to thank you all from the bottom of my heart for listening. God bless you all, and don't give up. Keep fighting for